So I think we're live. Hey to everybody that might be here already. I'm just waiting for the clock to strike 8, where I am at least. Please feel free to share in the chat who's here or where you're from. And yeah, I apologize for the lighting. It's still a bit dark here and I'm not quite sure what's going on with the weather. We had a pretty wild storm yesterday, but it seems to be clearing up. But here in New Zealand, you don't know because the weather can change on a dime. Right, so it is 8 o'clock. So to all those that might be joining me on the live, greetings. And to those that might be coming later, I do hope that you enjoy this replay. So just to get started, oh, hello, yes, my friend from Poland, nice to see you here. I just wanted to say that this really wasn't intended, and I had an experience on Monday morning where I had a dream. I know I've been sharing some of my dreams with you of late, and I feel like as the veil thins, there is a lot of healing happening in our dreams. And sometimes things, I do believe that we are healing on multi levels at the moment, but it's strange because sometimes things for me seem to be needing to be made conscious because there's something deeper to work through and possibly even release, something that may be taking up space in our field or even frozen in our body. And all these insights came to me after this dream that I had. And I wanted to share it because if you followed me for a while, you know how near and dear the animals are to my heart. But what was really so interesting about this is I realized something about our animals on a whole different level. Because we know that when we have animals, often when they're with us and sometimes only when they leave, and in the way that they leave, we then have these realizations, epiphanies, and sometimes those departures are catalysts for us to do some kind of next leg on our journey, if you will. So this was really profound for me because this was quite different. This was nothing to do with the animal and I, but she almost came in to help me heal something else. And it's really opened a whole new level of what our animals are here to do. And I wanted to share it also because I think that as we go through this journey, there is a lot of healing to be done. And I've set the intention for there to be a lot of healing in this transmission as well. And also to honor my beautiful cat, Tiggy. So I do hope that I can keep it together. It might be a bit raw, but let's see how I go. A few days have passed, so maybe I'll be okay. But really what happened is I had this dream, and it really just opened up something for me around grief, our dreams, how things are unlocking at much deeper levels for us at the moment, how healing is happening in layers. And I wanted to share it whilst it was fresh in my awareness, because we all know that these dream things can feel very surreal, even after a couple of days where you start to question whether they even happened. And what's interesting is in this dream, well, it was 2 dreams actually, that they opened a whole new layer of healing for me. But the interesting thing was that I didn't really know that I still needed that healing. And I want to share just a piece of this with you because it's just so powerful. It's so awesome. It's so beautiful of how our animals are just helping us on a whole nother level. So just to share a little bit is that for the past year, I mean, a lot of you know my healing journey started, like, I think as a child actually, or at least in my teens. But I've been on this healing journey for 30 plus years now, pretty much since I was a teen. I spent many of my teen years in a depression. But the past year, I've really been healing from things that shaped me in very deep ways, like lots of stuff that was going on, letting go of relationships, lots of unpacking. It's been a pretty traumatic past year for me. And I thought that I had moved through a whole lot of my things. And then on Monday morning, here comes Tiggy, this cat of mine, just showing me what, just a whole new layer. So just to give you a little bit of background on Tiggy. Tiggy is a cat that I had from the age of 20, and she was just shy of 20 when I had to put her to sleep. So she was with me for a long time. And she got me through some very dark times. She was with me during my relationship that was really not great, a secondary one that was also not great. And I lost her just when my two daughters were very, very young. So she departed this realm just when I had started to really get my life back on track. And the thing is that what's so significant, aside from the 20 and the 20, is that it was such a significant time when I had to put her to sleep, because at that stage, I was nearly 40 and she'd been with me half my life. But at that point, that half of my life had been my whole adult life. And so I'd really not experienced adulthood without this beautiful soul. And so she was very, very, she was like my rock and my anchor. And I think what's even more profound about this is that I don't think about her very often, because I feel like she lived a full life. She didn't go traumatically. There were no incidents with her. She had one illness during that whole 20 years, and the rest of the time, she never went to the vet for anything. Nothing ever happened to her. There were no injuries, no bites, no fights. There was nothing. She was just like the steady presence throughout my life. I lost so many other animals. I had all these traumatic events unfolding around me. And that's what's so powerful about this, is that often our animals, they are healing things that there's a connection between the healing, but directly between them and ourselves when we heal. But what she was helping me do on Monday was healing other things in my life, not really anything to do with her and I. And that's why I wanted to share this, because it is so, so profound and so, so powerful. So with all that being said, here is the dream. So I'm going to share just the snippet with you. So on Monday morning, I was in that space between wake and sleep, and I realized that I could hear what sounded like a cat and dogs together. And immediately I was alarmed, and it was like, oh my goodness, there's a fight, and it sounds like there's a cat with dogs, and that never ends well. And I shot up out of bed, I thought, but I was dreaming. And I run outside, and my worst fears are confirmed, because I can see about 4 dogs just laying into Tiggy. And so I'm running out there in my PJs, and I shout at the dogs, which on some level I know, and I scoop Tiggy up, and I'm holding her up in the air, and I'm shouting for whoever dogs these are. I'm shouting for them to like call off their dogs. And eventually this person comes out, and, sort of the dogs are still jumping at me. I'm still holding Tiggy. She's clawing me. There's a bit of blood. I want to check that she's okay. But I can't do anything until the dogs are gone. So it's quite a distressing dream. And so I shout again to them, can you please call your dogs in? And then this person starts yelling at me, telling me I'm overreacting. I need to calm down. The dogs love cats. They won't hurt the cats. And will I just calm down type thing? And I just start getting really, really angry. And boom, the next minute I'm awake. And I'm sitting in my bed going, oh my goodness, that was so vivid. It was so real. Like, what the hell is going on? And why Tiggy? So I'm having all these things going through my head. And there was stuff before, before that and deeper to that, but that's not important for this. And what's very interesting is that as I'm in that sort of state where I'm still waking up, I suddenly realized that this incident with Tiggy and the dogs happened yesterday as well. So now I'm thinking, well, I'm obviously not quite awake, and am I still stuck in a dream? But there is this thing where I go, I'm now getting more angry because I go, this happened yesterday and she was hurt yesterday, and now this has happened again, and I need to go outside and I need to do something about this because I'm not going to tolerate it. But what's so interesting is that I then wake up fully, and all of a sudden it all just lands in my body. I feel it, I know it, and it's like I had this very same dream yesterday morning. I just didn't remember it. And I mean, I'm getting full body goosebumps as I'm telling you this again. So this has never happened to me before, where all of a sudden I had this full awareness that it's not the incident that happened yesterday, but the dream almost to the T, just the morning prior, but I'd not remembered it. And yet here it is happening again, and boom, now it's landed in my body. It's in my awareness. I've got clarity around it, and now I'm starting to unpack these things as I sort of cool down from my anger, because I realize that it is just a dream. But now that it's come into my awareness in this way, I go, whoa, what could be so important that I have had a dream 2 mornings in a row, the exact same dream. I'm somehow just very aware of this. And it's Tiggy, a cat that I don't think about very often. There are all these other symbols in the dream that I can already see. Some of it is unfolding, and I go, okay, I need to actually now go and do some journaling with this, because that's normally what I do when I have these dreams. I go and journal, and then a whole lot of stuff comes out. And so the thing with Tiggy's significance, this is the first thing that I unpacked, is that it was not just any random cat in the dream, because I've had other dreams like that where I'm rescuing animals. I mean, I think we've all had dreams like that. But the fact that it was Tiggy seemed really, really significant. And the thing is that she was my companion during my very formative early adulthood years, where I was in this relationship. There were lots of other things going on in my life, and it seemed very significant that she was now back in this dream. And she's her being attacked by the dogs, all of these like little things felt like something much deeper just resurfacing for me to actually have a look at. There's an energy behind all of this of me being invalidated, silenced, that me saying these things to this person, it didn't matter. I wasn't being heard. I wasn't being seen. The cat being injured wasn't being heard or seen. So there's much deeper layers to this actual dream. And so I sit here as I'm journaling, and I go, well, is this a surfacing of maybe some final layer of all the relationships that I've had to let go of in the past year, and that kind of thing? And also it could be the confrontation between the old me and the pain that I'm still carrying and the new me that I'm becoming. So there's all these things that I'm unpacking as I'm journaling. And it's interesting for me, because why am I suddenly having her presence so, like, I want to say big? Her presence is so big and so I can feel it around me. And it's decades since I have, since she's been in my awareness even, or since I had to put her to sleep. This is not a fresh loss of a beloved animal. So there's all these things that seem very, very significant, and I unpack them. And I'm going to share some of these with you, because I hope in this there is something very healing. And as I say, it's also really a way to honor this beautiful soul. And so the way that I picked her up and that I was trying to protect her was also such a vivid image of me, of my inner protector, and possibly me trying to protect my inner child or my inner young adult. And also me holding her up like that, me standing between my younger sensitive self, and also finally putting that sort of closure to the energies that once belittled me, silenced me, didn't recognize me. So there's huge things going on for me in this unpacking of this dream. And all while Tiggy's presence is steadfastly at my side. And of course, while I'm journaling, the tears start to flow. I mean, I'm getting emotional now, but there's a okay, you know, I can understand this, I can unpack it, and it's like, okay, you know, I'm feeling very good about what I've done. It's like validation that walking away from some of these relationships has been very healing for me, but now it's just the next layer. And the other thing is that I mentioned that I knew the dogs, and I realized as I was journaling that I actually liked them. And there was such a deep reference there again about what my heart was saying, and about what this person with their dogs was representing. And it was again these persistent dominant forces of others' beliefs, controls, and standards, and the dismissive words, like just dismissing me like I was nothing and like Tiggy was nothing. And so it really felt like more of a reclaiming of my voice and my power, my weirdness, my visibility. And it almost felt like it was this last, what I called it in my journal, I've got notes here, is a last echo of a program that no longer gets to run the show. And in that moment, I suddenly realized what Tiggy was actually doing. And as I say, this wasn't a direct healing between her and I, or something that she'd been a catalyst for in her leaving and that, but she was almost here holding space for me. I don't know how else to explain it, but as I moved through this, I started thinking about her and all the moments that we'd had together. And that's when the floodgates just opened, and I just really started to cry. I was journaling, I was crying. It was a real mess. And this went on for a couple of hours. But in that sort of me realizing her presence here, she allowed me to fully open up so that I could let all of that out. And I felt like there was really some parts of this that were actually like frozen in my body and stuck in my energy field, that even though I've done all the work, it was more from if I can say, a mental level and an intellectual level. And this was the releasing from the body. This was the releasing from the emotional body, from my energy body, from my mental body. So from all the layers of my aura, and this release of this heartache and this invalidation and this being silenced and not being able to do things. And I do feel that this was spanning not from just this lifetime, but from prior lifetimes as well. I know that in prior lifetimes I was silenced. I have memories of being a witch. You know, we all know that story. But it was all the same theme: invalidated, silence, not able to speak my truth, not able to be weird, you know, all those kinds of things. But it was in the memory of her. If I had just been here in this dream, and then trying to unpack this afterwards, I don't feel like I would have had the physical release that I have. And, you know, some of us call it a somatic release, where the body is actually holding trauma. The body is holding memories. And when the body does that, all that trauma is stored in the cells. And it's really important to let it out. And that's why tears are so important. And really having a good, ugly cry is so important, because our tears are healing. Those are the waters of our body, and it's all of it coming out, because it can't be held in the body anymore. And that's why I say I didn't realize how much I was still carrying physically, when maybe I've done the work more mentally and maybe emotionally, and I've put a lot of things to rest, and I understand a lot of these things. But she just tapped into that. I've always spoken about how animals allowed my heart to remain open. And in that same way, this was just absolutely magnificent. The way the memory of her and the love between her and I just allowed me to just break wide open and just allow all of this to come out. And so I really feel like she was my my inner guardian. She was representative also of my innocent self. And there was this confusion between, you know, some of the stuff. Did it happen yesterday? Was it a dream? I just that for me was so significant, and it's why I wanted to mention it here for anybody who might be on their healing journey, is that it just shows how multi-layered and multi-dimensional our healing journey can be, and just really you know, how it can span lifetimes even. And so much of the work that we're doing now is spanning the lifetimes. And the dogs were more part of in the dream for more ancestral conditioning. And yes, I've got a comment here that cats represent the more feminine energy and the dogs masculine. Absolutely. I mean, I hadn't thought of that, and that's very interesting. So thank you for sharing that. But for me, the dogs were attached to the sort of voice that was silencing me, that was being dismissive, so it was more towards that conditioning that I'd had, you know, maybe in this life and in other lives where I wasn't, you know, you're seen and not heard, and actually not even seen, really. You know, so all around those kinds of things. And they were just really more in this dream, they were the embodiment of sort of forces of control, conformity, that kind of thing, and really these domineering forces, because they were much bigger than Tiggy. There were many of them. Even I standing up, holding her up, they were jumping at me, and I was battling to hold her in the air. So me having this constant battle, you know, trying to be myself, but having these forces that kept sort of almost trying to knock me back. That is how they were significant for me. And what's really interesting is that for me, it was the double dream. So the 2 nights in a row. And as I mentioned earlier, I feel like we can possibly be healing loads of things. I do believe every night we're healing things. But when there's something that is recurring like that, and that needs to come up almost from our subconscious into our conscious, I feel like we're not just processing them and not just healing them, but they're also more of an activation. And when I say this activation, is it's almost like I needed to have this physical release in this around all these traumas that I've been carrying. And so it was almost like there was something that was ready to be witnessed, something in my psyche that I was ready to now go there, because maybe prior to now I couldn't go there because there was so much stuff that maybe I wasn't ready to do that. And that was why this gift that Tiggy gave me was just so beautiful, because I feel so much lighter. I feel different. I feel transformed. There's no other way to describe it, but I feel like I've left a massive suitcase that I didn't even know I was carrying around with me somewhere. I've just left it, and it's just been dissolved, and it's just, I've released it, and it's just kind of been taken care of, because I was the one that was still carrying it. And yeah, so there was this feeling of it needing to be remembered in that. And I guess I share part of this message just because, as I said, some of us are having these weird dreams, and sometimes it is important to maybe unpack them, and because it's really helpful on your healing journey. And the other significant thing which was really interesting, is that on the Monday morning, it was 10 days ago since I'd had another dream that was related to all of these things that were going on in the dream, but there were no animals in it. And I immediately, as I was journaling, I sensed the connection, but then I got, oh, wow, this was 10 days. But the night before would have made it 9 days since this other dream, which also was very healing in and of itself, and where I managed to unpack a whole lot of stuff during journaling. And that was very interesting for me, because 9s are always the endings of cycles. And then you have 10, and 10 is the 1 and the 0 and the starting of new cycles and the bringing in of new things. So the timing of these dreams was also incredibly significant. And the 2 things that I wanted to mention just before I go more into the animals is that I wanted to share, and I wrote them down because they feel important as we all go through our healing journeys, is that healing isn't always pretty, and it can sometimes feel like confusion, tiredness, and even the rawness repeating until we are ready to listen, or until some layer or level is ready to be sort of, I guess, almost integrated and then let go of. And the other part is that wholeness is not a destination, but rather the state that arises naturally when we stop running from our wounded parts and maybe just try and take them into our arms and show them a little bit of love. And it was really important for me because there was a point where I was journaling that I shouted out, and I remember it like, when am I going to feel whole? And that's why I mention it, because wholeness is not a destination, and we are already whole. But sometimes when we're so fragmented and we're on this healing journey, it feels like we're doing something wrong and that we're never going to be whole. And it isn't actually a destination. It's just, I think it does come from stopping running from our wounded parts and tending to them with the care and the love and the reverence, and just acknowledging and seeing them and listening to them, because these are all the things that I have been battling with. So I just wanted to share that as a side note. But really, Tiggy showed me a part of my magic that she had been carrying for safekeeping. I've shared with you before how around my name, the changing of my name, how I feel like I was in a different suit for all those years. And it became apparent that for most of those years, Tiggy was by my side. And, you know, it's so interesting. I just feel like she's given me a part of myself, that the part of myself that is weird, that is magical, that is a bit strange for a lot of people. And that she kept that safe for me now at a time when I'm ready to fully embrace it. So that was the one thing that dropped in. And it really felt like my inner young adult was actually receiving so much healing as I was journaling. And I've done a lot of inner child work. I've even done womb work. I've done pre-womb work. I've done loads of healing. But during this, my inner adult got the healing that I didn't really realize it needed. Because I think the inner adult, we tend to focus more on the child, but our inner child actually has various phases. And that was another thing that I wanted to just mention, because we often forget about the inner adult. And afterwards, I just realized how much our animals are still helping us. And that even though they may be in spirit, and they may even be incarnated into other physical bodies where they're helping other people, that Tiggy's soul, at this moment, while I was journaling through these dreams, through everything, her soul was still helping me right now at this time, in this time space. As I healed in layers from this lifetime and other lifetimes. And she just was able to bring forward all these things that were ready to be healed. And what really struck me is that most of you know I communicate with animals. It's part of my offerings for my clients. But in this moment, I only realized and experienced what I already know about how animals help us all the time, and even in spirit. But it was just on a whole new level, because this is a living, breathing experience and example of just how the soul of an animal can work with us across time, across space, transcend their death. And our soul bonds with our animals never end. And I feel now that they can be one of our greatest allies as we navigate our deep emotional work, and as our souls bring back all the parts of themselves that might have been split off during traumatic experiences and things like that, and even just when we've given our power away. And so I wanted to also invite you to just reflect on your own animal companions who might still be helping you from beyond the veil. And I also wanted to say that it's okay if the healing takes time. You know, if it takes time, if it brings tears, if it feels raw, if it feels like you're not doing it right, because I feel that that's how we know that it's real. It's none of this woo-woo stuff, because sometimes the stuff may look very different and people talk about it being very different, but it can be messy and it can be raw and it can take years. I mean, I'm sitting here describing this from like my 20s. You know, it's really important to understand that, because remember, The soul doesn't know time, and the soul is eternal. And time for us, we might try and hurry these things up. And I think it's really important to just know that. The other thing is our animals know when we're ready to be healed, because they're the ones that have got the contracts with us. We don't understand this from a human perspective, but if you have an animal drop into your awareness just like randomly, and you go, whoa, I haven't thought about that for years, maybe you need to just take a moment and sit in silence and try and connect with that animal and ask them, wow, why now? Why am I thinking about you now? And there might even be a memory that comes with that. Maybe it's time to unpack it. Maybe it shows that you're ready to heal it, because the animals have this beautiful capacity to hold us in this cocoon of unconditional love. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I really didn't appreciate how much the animals can help us on our healing journey, just when it's not even related to them. So when they're passing, or something that you've experienced with them, is that we know about that, but this is outside of the direct relationship that you may have with an animal. And I got a message from Tiggy afterwards, because I obviously wanted to tune in and see if there was anything else. And this is what she shared with me. So I got an image first of like some golden threads, and then I wrote down soul weaving. And the message I got from that is that when she had to leave, it didn't matter that she needed to leave her physical body, because our souls had interwoven and they had made a pact, which was for now, I believe, and maybe even more in the future. Because our animals are not just around us in physicality when we need the healing. They're sometimes there to create that soul bond in the physical life, just to help us later. And it's almost like her soul knew my soul at that time. And it's really how she could provide such a deep healing, but also such a quick healing, because she was attached to all the memories of that time. And there was it was an intense release, but it was such a quick release. I mean, it was over in a couple of hours. And this, I mean, many years ago might have taken me weeks or even months to unpack. And that's what I mean by this. We're obviously in new times as well. But I feel like she was holding the space for me in the same way a therapist or a healer was. I mean, I have no other words to explain it or describe it. And she showed me that we are here experiencing everything with them, because they know us and they know our emotions. They're reading us all the time when they're with us. And this is massive, because the soul contract stuff goes so much deeper than I realized. And she said, there is never anything to feel sad or guilty at. Sometimes when you lose an animal and you go, oh, I wish I'd known that's what they were here to help me with. I might have spent more time with them when they were here in their physical body. And sometimes we feel like, I'm sorry I didn't see it then. And we feel like we've missed something. And she just said to me, but if you didn't see it then, you weren't meant to see it then. And it doesn't mean that we can't help you later. But when it comes to the healing, they know exactly what that is, and they know exactly what you need. And the thing that was so profound is that they're not just holding us during the painful times as we walk through this physical life where maybe they are with us physically, but they again come back to hold us when the time has come to heal. And that doesn't matter where they are, And she shared with me that sometimes this is how you can have an animal that's passed, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you think about them, and then you suddenly even might burst into tears. And you go, I don't know where that came from. And you have a little bit of a breakdown, and you might not even fully understand or have a memory or whatever. You think about your animal and you just burst into tears. I mean, we've actually all had moments like that. Well, I definitely have. And you go, well, what was that all about? And it seems to be quite brief. And she was just saying, because that's precisely what's meant to be happening. It's time to heal, and your animal is in your space to help take something from you, to help you open up, to help you release something. And so just the trigger of them coming into your awareness is meant to be the catalyst to open the floodgates, to start that healing, or to just release something that you no longer need to hold on to. And she also said sometimes we're not consciously aware of this. We don't need to be, but the soul knows no bounds. It knows no time. It just knows that we are here to help one another. It remembers the contract, and it doesn't matter how much time has passed. So for anybody out there who might be struggling with the loss of an animal and feeling like you wish that you had known more or done more or been more with them at a time when you could have maybe done something more with them, have the, I hope that this is the invitation to you to let that guilt go, and to understand that when the time comes, that they, whatever happened with them is exactly how it was meant to be, and that they might be back. And that's what's so profound about this, like, next level of these soul contracts, and how our animals are healing us. And I do feel that as the veil thins, we're going to be able to experience so much more of seeing our beloved animals in spirit from the other side of the veil, or just being in touch with them on a soul level. And my message really today was to remain open to this, and to be aware, because in the past maybe we haven't been aware, just so that you don't miss any of the magic and any of the healing that they might be wanting to help you with, and any insights and any growth that they might be wanting to help you with. So that's really the end of everything that I wanted to share today. And I do hope that it has offered you a little bit of hope. I hope that it has been healing and helpful. If you are feeling and still grieving the loss of a beautiful animal, they are never gone, and this is proof of that. And they may be back. In fact, I think a lot of them do come back, but it's having that awareness. And I just I want to thank you again so much for being here, for your support, and for joining me on this live. I did manage to keep it together, which is great. I think our animals are going to be, I've always said that they're the bridge to New Earth. And now maybe they just, we know that New Earth is being birthed within us. And so maybe there's something quite profound in that. This is just coming in now, is that we know that New Earth is birthed through us. So if they are the bridge to New Earth, maybe they are really helping us at this much deeper level as we heal ourselves and we change the world, and as we change, the world change, and it's all happening within and without. And they're just really happening. It's not just about seeing them in a new light from the external, but with everything that they're doing for us on the internal. This is just really opening a whole new gate for how we can work with our animals. So thank you so much for the comments. I see somebody has a cat, and she's just saying that this work has helped the cat grow closer, as she was very skittish. She was an adopted cat. So after 3 years, you live more closely and her anxiety is tamed. That's wonderful. Thank you, Lizette. Thank you for the comment. I'm so glad that this helps, because the animals are so important, and they are souls just like we are. You know, somebody once, I remember reading in a book somewhere, somebody said that animals are very 2D and we are 3D, and that they are not on the same level, and they can't process things like we do. And I remember reading that, and this was years ago, and just thinking, that is a very strange comment, and that just doesn't resonate with me. And now that I know that how highly evolved the souls often are that come to this planet in animal bodies are, I realized that just didn't gel with me. And in fact, we know that even dolphins and whales are like 7th dimensional, 9th dimensional. A lot of our animals are really our teachers. They're our guides. But I didn't realize how much they were our healers. And so, sorry, Carol. Apologies, Carol. Tarot Biles, I thought that was your name. Okay, so Carol, all right, I know you. Okay. Oh, yes, you're the lady in Texas where I'm moving to. Okay, right. Thank you. So, yeah, I just our animals are really important, and I think because I mean we're obviously our souls are also some of our souls are very high dimensional as well, but I think when we have this construct of the ego and the mind that I think keeps us stuck here, and I think that's what's so powerful about our animals is they don't have that, so they're in their multidimensionality and they're always connected to their soul, and they don't get bogged down by the ego and things like that. So I just yeah, it's just a really important message to share. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and if you're watching later, I do hope that this has been that this has offered some healing and some insights, and as you all go on your healing journey, and just to know that our animals want us to drop any guilt that we are carrying. It's so important. And yeah, yeah, so thank you, and thank you, Carol. Thank you for being here. But yeah, so anyway, I won't keep you any longer. I'm going to end off the video, wishing you all a magical rest of your day wherever you may be. Thank you so much for being here, and if you're catching the video later, thank you as always for watching. And if you'd like to see more of this and you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so. And we'll be doing on one of the lives this month, we will be doing a live container again. I want to do some work with the water again on the planet, but I've got the whales in my space at the moment, so we're going to be working with the whales. So I'll be sharing more about that as the weeks go by and letting you know when that will happen. And it'll be the first time we're doing a container live on YouTube. So I'm looking really forward to that. So if you do want to be notified about those things, please do subscribe to the channel. So thank you so much. And thank you, Carol. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for sharing everything. But anyway, magical souls, I will let you go. Thank you so much for being here. Sending you all so much love.